Bliss is definitely a creative film, and the performances are very good. Visually, it looks quite striking, but it's not my kind of film. This was released in 2019. It's written and directed by Joe Begos, and it stars Dora Madison as Dezzy. We also have George Wendt. It's because of George Wendt that I became aware of this. I read the description, and I thought this just isn't going to be for me. But as always, I went in with an open mind because sometimes films that I don't think are for me actually end up being really pleasing. Unfortunately, that's not the case here, but in general, I'd say that's more of a personal taste thing rather than anything wrong with the film. I'll read the description from IMDb, which sums it up without spoiling anything. It doesn't really have the strongest narrative. It's definitely more, I don't want to say style over substance, as that sounds too critical, but it's definitely a very artsy film. There is a narrative, but it's definitely more about the journey of the visuals and the character as we follow her story. But the description from IMDb says, a brilliant painter facing the worst creative block of her life turns to anything she can to complete her masterpiece, spiraling into a hallucinatory hellscape of drugs, sex, and murder in the sleazy underbelly of Los Angeles. And yeah, as a narrative, it works well enough. There is a story there. It's not completely style over substance, but it definitely feels like they wanted to project a certain style, and I think they did a good job of that. Visually, it is quite striking. It's very creative. The music, sound effects are very effective. The use of lighting, I thought, worked really well. The performances are really good too. And yes, there is a narrative there, but it's maybe not the most fascinating. I think it takes a back seat to the visuals and the creative aspect of that there. So I didn't like it. It's not my kind of film, but there's not really anything about it that didn't work. So if it does sound like your kind of thing, then I think you might really enjoy it, and I'd be really keen to know what you think of it in general, but particularly if you go into it thinking, yes, this sounds exactly like my kind of film. Did it meet your expectations? Was it an enjoyable experience? I didn't hate it. Based on the description, I didn't think I'd like it at all. But actually, because there were a lot of positive things about this, and at no point was I thinking, well, that's badly done or that's underdeveloped. Absolutely not. I didn't dislike the experience, but I can't pretend that I came away from it having really enjoyed it, because ultimately it's just not my kind of thing. But it's not the fault of the film. I think it's well done. I think they achieved I'm presuming they achieved what they wanted to. I think visually it's quite a strong film. The characters are well written enough. I don't think Dezzy is the most likable protagonist, but I think the performance was very, very strong. So all things considered, Bliss exceeded my expectations based on personal preference, and in general, it's not a bad film. It doesn't appeal to me personally. I didn't hate the experience though. I'd never watch it again, but I liked it more than I thought. I was not bored at any point. I just maybe wasn't enjoying it. So for me, considering it seemed like I wasn't going to like it at all, I'll take that as a win. And if it does sound like something that might appeal to you, then I'm quite happy to recommend Bliss. I'd be very keen to know what you think. And personally, I didn't mind it.